The following program is intended for a mature listening audience. Graphic and explicit language may be heard at times. The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual hosts and their guests do not necessarily express those of this station or sponsors. Listeners are advised that neither this station nor its owners and agents shall be held liable for the content of this program. Rebroadcast, redistributed or reused without express written permission by host or producer is not allowed.
And welcome everybody to the Vixen'S Vault. Today's date is December the 17th, 2025. It is the last show of the year for the Vault and actually for all of the shows that run on Dragus Productions. We are on sabbatical until after the new year with these final shows being done. In fact, I think tonight is your last night, correct, Mark?
Oh, yeah.
You haven't. Tonight is it.
But there may be some specials coming in that won't be on the radio side.
Wow, Christmas specials.
Maybe or year end. We Jack and I were thinking year end cryptozoology show.
Dude, if I had to do a year end recap this year, I don't even know. I don't even know how I could get between all the crap that has happened this year and just even since the beginning of December. Like, literally, since the beginning of December, I'm like, what
just remember
the holy
it all
hell?
started with a giant Viking that carries two battle axes.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Chicken jockey.
I mean, you've got the paranormal side of it with, Three Eye Atlas just blew everything off the radar because, and again, I'm sorry, people, whether you like it or not, so much government influence in what goes on and what information gets out there with Three Eye Atlas and all the disinformation with Three Eye Atlas and all the counter subject. I mean, literally, it's like watching them, like, it's really like watching bowling pins be set up at the end of a lane and just waiting to pick the right ball to smash them down, because I've never seen anything drilled into the public the way this has been, and supported by top scientists and this and that, and really, honest to God, it's crap. It's kind of like, they're doing a lot now. You're seeing some information come out on Proxima B, where apparently some of the larger space groups or associations, and some of them are relative to government, are making the claims now that it looks like there are large, not natural structures on Proxima B. And it's funny because that's something that people in the ufology field have talked about for like over a decade now. But yes, suddenly it's coming out with government sources and larger schools. And on top of this, like I know this has been a crazy news weekend, guys. I understand that. You had Rob Reiner and his wife, and it's funny because I'm not going to take the Trump path with this. I am going to say, God rest their souls, even though I think he was an evil little shit. Excuse the language. I really do. I have no love for Rob Reiner at all. And let me tell you, he was pretty nasty and ruthless when Rush Limbaugh died and had no problems being that way. He was ruthless when President Trump had the attempted assassination, and he had no problems and made no apologies for it. But still, life is a life. And I'm a person who always respects life, whether or not I like you, whether or not I think you're an evil slimewad. It does not matter. Or actually CIA, because I'm pretty sure Rob Reiner was like, wag the dog people, just think wag the dog. But I mean, I'm still going to mourn the loss of somebody and his wife. And think about the daughter who found them, the other son, the other surviving son. But I will tell you, it is very interesting because apparently Michelle and Barack Obama were supposed to meet with the Reiners the night that they died. And she did publicly state that on Monday. I'm trying to remember, with Jimmy Kimmel. She was on Jimmy Kimmel's show. Michelle Obama was. And she stated that her and Barack were supposed to be meeting up with the Reiners later that evening, the night they were murdered. And yeah. And then, of course, Hillary Clinton ends up going into the hospital the next day too, and I'm like, okay, guys, y'all can sit here and call me the conspiracy tinfoil hat wacko, but there's only so many coincidences and ridiculousness before you really need to start watching everything that's happening. And I mean, literally at the same time over the weekend, you had the White House come out and declare that the construction of the East Wing is a national security issue. Well, yeah, let's take a look at what's under the East Wing. And what we've known has been under the East Wing. I mean, guys, it's just, without coming out and saying it, it's like, it's crazy. There's so many things. And the same day Rob Reiner and his wife get murdered, we had 2 mass shootings, both of which, by the way, and again, my condolences to the families of the victims. Because I do know the Brown University mass shooting, the girl that was murdered, and this was not made widely public, but I think she was either president or vice president of the Republican Club at Brown University. Yes. I'm sorry, that is not a coincidence. Right. Yeah, that's a target, and God rest her soul. While I think a lot of these are false flags, I think they are planned 1,000%. It doesn't mean I don't mourn a loss. It's kind of like with the Reiners. I couldn't stand Rob Reiner. Really, I can't stand the guy. I really think that man is probably in hell. No joke. But still.
Hey Nancy, who was the guy that was murdered in outside of Providence, 50 miles away? That professor. Do you know anything about him?
That's an MI. That's very. I was going to bring that up because that is very interesting. MIT professor. Hired at MIT in 2016. He's been there almost 10 years. He actually studies plasma. Yep. He's a nuclear physicist. And he had come out with some very interesting information in regards to plasma. Now, again, I'm gonna point out to you guys, and it's so weird how some of this stuff wraps into the paranormal. It's stuff you learn because of conspiracies and because of all the information that's hidden from us. It makes us go look for information. One of the theories in the paranormal, in the UFOlogy side of things, is about the moon and about the universal makeup. And a lot of people, after study, believe that the moon may actually be plasma. So when you've got, again, let's focus again. We've got 3i Atlas that supposedly is supposed to make its closest approach to the Earth on December 19th. Although I've seen differences on opinions on that too.
But 168 million miles away. Come on.
Yes. But it is, the thing is though, Dave, again, nothing unintentional with our government. Love it all. I know. Mm-hmm. When NASA intentionally released the most ridiculous photos of 3i Atlas. I mean, literally a 2-year-old could have gotten a better photo of it.
Absolutely.
And now we're getting information where it's changing. It's doing weird things according to what you're being told.
Yeah.
But again, the propaganda machine goes deep. Mm-hmm. And for as much information we have, there's twice as much misinformation. So it's like swimming through shark-infested waters with chum attached to your waist and just praying you don't get bit. It's kind of ridiculous trying to figure it out. But the one thing I can tell you is true. Again, you have a lot of drone information all of a sudden now. A lot of pictures of very weird drones that are showing up. And again, you don't know if they're saying, no, they might be Chinese, they might be this, they might be that. But it's a lot of focus on these things. Well, I can tell you, and I've said it before, I'll say it again. We've had the technology to pull off a blue beam event really well. Mind you, not just a little, not like a hoaxy B-rated movie, Blue Beam event. We're talking like Hollywood, like, holy crap, blue beam event for like 40 years. We've had that tech. Okay, to the point where nobody would know the difference. We've had that tech.
Have you seen where they put that on display in 2021 about, I want to say, on or about 2021 in Japan at a baseball game?
Yes.
That was great.
You've seen that footage of the dragon?
Oh, yeah.
Now that showed up on the Jumbotron and did what you'll see, the phenomena you'll see happen on OBS sometimes. You'll get the window and a window and a window and a window effect forever. And I'll be doggone if that ain't exactly what that son of a gun did. I've got that uploaded and I've had it uploaded to my YouTube channel since the day they did that. And it looks as wild and crazy today as it did back then. If they could do that back then at a Japanese baseball game, I mean, who knows?
Well, okay, when was the Spider-Man movie released? What was it called? Away from home, away. Something. It was the one with the drones in it, where they were doing holograms with the drones. Oh my God, Ralphie, do you know when that was?
I'm thinking. I know what you're talking about.
See that?
It was Away from Home. It was like 2018 or 2019 that was released, where they basically pulled off these mass catastrophic events and made holograms with the drones.
2019.
Yeah, and it was like crazy realistic. People could not tell the difference if it was. They thought that these events were happening. I mean, and I thought then, if they're showing this in a movie, nobody's that creative anymore. Look at how stupid Hollywood is right now. They're making repeats of everything. Like, I have literally seen every movie. In fact, guess what? They're redoing Stargate. I mean, literally, they are redoing every movie that's ever been made because they have absolutely zero creativity. Probably because they're all high as kites, literally. But there's just zero creativity in Hollywood right now. So you're supposed to get me to believe that they just come up with this on their own and that there's no technology that pre-existed? Yes, there is. Mm-hmm. It's called a soft cell. It's like soft terrorism. It's like they're letting the public see different things. So basically, and not only that, I got to tell you, that is, it's rule number one in Satanism and in Luciferianism. What is the first rule of Satanism and Luciferianism? It is literally, they have to tell you. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter how they tell you what they're going to do. They have to tell you. They can do it through comedy. They can do it through movies. They can do it through books that are labeled as fantasy. But they have to tell you. I tell you what,
they're slipping on that though. They're cheating a little bit, I think. Dude,
the whole idea is they cheat because to them, reality is how they created.
Own moral beliefs, though. They're cheating on their own moral beliefs with the fact. I mean, I totally get it. They have to show us. They have to, so that way it falls on our moral dogma.
Correct.
And so
your choice.
But, it's like they're playing with the game genie. They're cheating against their with all these false flags and Bondi Beach, whatever the heck happened there, and the Boston bombings and all. That's too doggone much. I tell you what, if I have this argument in the afterlife, I'm bringing that up.
Dude, and here's my thing. Well, dude, I already had my argument with the afterlife was, excuse me, if I was a Christian or a Muslim or even a Jew, and I signed this contract about what I was supposed to believe, and then I saw a ghost, I would be screaming breach of contract because how did that happen? Because it's not supposed to.
You guys heard my view on the whole permission thing. Like, I see that as like a form of religious fanaticism that was incorporated into ufology and all other.
I don't disagree, but I believe it's on purpose. Like I said, I don't think anything has been done that was not without purpose.
I don't believe the aliens need our permission to do anything to us.
I thought that they had to. What if you don't object?
Oh, wait. But Roger,
right?
The thing is no, it's not even that you don't have to give permission. Just with the knowledge, your consciousness is aware. That's what you don't get. It's not a matter of whether or not you give permission. It's a matter of your awareness.
Consent would be a better word for it.
Yes, that's
permission
what it is.
Permission is just like a go to crap. It's like, I give you permission to do an anal probe. Whatever.
Okay, put it this way, and I say this as a person who stands outside of the Christian, Muslim, outside of the organized religious beliefs. And no, I'm not an atheist. God. But the way I believe, and Rafi will 100% back me up on this. I try very hard to not think negative thought. I try very hard to not think negative thoughts about anybody, no matter how angry they make me. I have to literally walk around sometimes and talk to myself and talk myself out of negative thoughts. Because to me, if I have a negative thought about somebody and direct it at them, or even verbalize it, I am now committing an action against my own soul in some ways. I am allowing a negative to permeate my space and my area and move out from there, and I'm creating a reality. And that I will not abide.
Well, biblically, that's what Jesus said. You know, if you hate somebody, it's the same as murder. I mean,
that's it. I don't
say that though, because like that's the kind of stuff you need to be saying. Like we have conversations like this in chat all the time, you know.
Yes.
And it's like when you come on the show, man, it's really good hearing you say stuff like that, because that's what people need to hear.
Well, and again, I do get a little tender sometimes when you see, you know, because I don't ascribe to any of the known religions. I know I am a self-described pagan because I believe that's probably the closest you could call me, because I believe in energy and I do believe in a creator. But I don't ascribe to the actual religions because I think they're all man-made and man-pushed, and the stories have been changed to fit certain agendas. And that I will not put my soul under. I won't do it. I won't do it. And I've tried to. I'm not going to lie, guys. I have tried to say maybe I would be a good Christian. I have had a lot of people that have told me you should have been a nun, which cracks me up every time because I'm like, yeah, no, I'm pretty sure I shouldn't have. Pretty damn sure I should not have been a nun.
But you might get Protestant, maybe. You know, you're so close, so close.
They're like, but you think like a Christian. I'm like, not any Christian I've met, but okay. In fact, I lived in a really actually, my whole neighborhood was born again Christian. This is like 20 years ago. And my kids were little, and oh boy. And of course, they all were, my mom's a witch. Oh God. So literally I had 1 year for Halloween, I literally had, and I'm not playing, a born again prayer circle on my lawn on Halloween night. But this is what's interesting though. I actually made very good friends with one of the women in that prayer circle because I went out and I said, I thanked each one of them. And it was not a nasty tongue-in-cheek thank. It was an actual genuine, you know, thank you for focusing all this positive, because it was positive. And I can't take away from people for that. It was kind of a beautiful thing. I mean, you care so much about my soul that you gave up your night to come pray to what you believe in for me and my kids. And that's actually really beautiful. And I think more people need to think like that.
Saying bad things. Yeah. Yeah. Usually that is what the Christians are supposed to do. Pray for you. Pray for the people that don't. You know.
Yeah, but again, I think so much has become commercialized when it comes to religion, and I say that again, and it's very disappointing because, like, Vicki, you're a beautiful Christian. I've told you that a million times. Probably one of the most pure, beautiful Christians I've ever met in my life. And I say that with much love and much respect because I've known you a few years, and I've never seen you step off the path, ever. Ever. In fact, when you think you stepped off the path, you freak out. I'm like, no, that's just an opinion. That's you expressing your opinion. That's not stepping off the path, Vicki. What are you doing? It's you truly believe and wear what you believe. And that's all I ask of anybody. Anybody. Just really genuinely believe it. I mean, and live it every day. And if you mess up, at least recognize it and try again. Because we're all human and we all end up face down in the shit at some point in time. It just happens. We're human.
Right.
So what you wearing, Vicki?
Wow. Wow. All right, boys and girls. But anyway, getting back to my original point with the shootings, because I don't know how the hell we got off of subject on that, but I was really, the first shooting at Brown University, I believe, happened first. And then, of course, like right on top of it, you had the breaking news coming in from Bondi Beach, which, by the way, I'm going to point out the name Bondi, like, hit me in the face with a sledgehammer.
I know.
I was like, really? Come on. But there were crisis actors in both situations. And that's not even conspiracy theory. That's like, you can't deny it. In fact, they went on TV, like the one from Bondi Beach literally is Facebooking a video with his face covered in blood from the beach, telling everybody that he survived October 7th. It was a lawyer.
Yeah, not for nothing, but did they spend 15 minutes dressing his wounds on his head and just not wipe the blood off his face when there was more red covering his face than peach, than skin?
And they were wiping. Apparently, they were cleaning the wounds with a makeup brush because that is a makeup brush in that girl's hand. And I'm like,
oh no, I've seen that.
Yeah,
I thought that was like a fake photo. That was so ridiculous or something. I need till Friday to dig and really before I say a whole lot on either one of those incidents.
But then with the Brown University shooting, lo and behold, one of the girls that was interviewed on site, one of the quote unquote victims was also a Parkland shooting victim. And I'm like,
yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that not
disgusting? And then you have what they said was 87-year-old, I think it was 87-year-old. Was that how old the Holocaust survivor was?
Yes.
I did the math. I mean, I guess, what would you be, 3 or 4 in 1945?
They said she was 10 years old, but that doesn't make sense, 10 years old.
It doesn't make sense. My grandfather fought in World War II, and he died when he was 97. That was 10 years ago. So I did the math, and it was like he would have had to be like 1 or 2 years old or something. But boy, that's just one of the many anomalies with Bondi Beach.
Yeah, let's pronounce it the way they're trying to pronounce it, Bondi Beach. And I'm like, okay, it's spelled Bondi. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Pam Bondi.
I mean, again, I am not one for coincidences, guys. And I mean, the same exact day, Rob Reiner and his wife get murdered, and he's a producer. And I'm like, literally, my brain's going, come on, no more. And you know what he owned? You guys know what entertainment company he owned, right? Castle Rock Entertainment. And I'm like,
I know Raphael will notice this one. When you saw the guy firing, he was pivoting on his one leg, like they show you in the military. Drill. You turn 90 degrees, turn completely 180 to your 6 o'clock, to your left. Your left o'clock. your 9 o'clock. 3 o'clock. That's exactly what he was doing as he was firing. He was very much knew how to handle a bolt action rifle, etc.
Yeah. That and there's also I've seen two different lines of thought, both coming from press outlets. One was that he actually served in the IDF at one point, and the other one was that they had investigated him as a member of ISIS and cleared him years before. And I'm like, and that was a Times of Israel article that I read. I think it was from like right immediately after that. And nobody mentioned the fact that the guy who actually stopped the father, who stripped the father of his rifle, was an Arab. The guy was Syrian. He was Muslim.
It's very interesting to me when you see what. I'm sorry, David. It's very interesting when you see when I see what happened after that. It's almost like, oh boy, abort. We didn't plan for this. The guy just starts walking away after he's been disarmed. Another guy comes up and throws a shoe or a can or a rock or something at him. Almost, that guy, check it out. The guy that throws that object, it really, after all I've seen over the last 9 years with false flags and side people that are meant to shoo away reporters and so on, it really looked like somebody saying, look, this is an abort, not abort like when it's cool, like a strategic back off, but this is one of those, just get out of here. What are you doing? Don't just stand here like looking confused like a deer in the headlights. Walk, run, get out of here, do something. We'll get up with you later. I mean,
Right,
that's just
I tell you what,
based
I hate
on what I've seen, etc.
I gotta stop you,
very
Jason.
weird.
I gotta take us out to our first break for the evening. Man, that went fast. Hang in there, guys. We are going to return with the Vixen's Vault, and at some point during the show tonight, we are going to have a special guest on, and that should be very interesting because I cannot wait to speak to this person. I respect him a lot. He's got a lot of really good information and connections under his belt, so it should be a really cool conversation. But hang in there, guys. I'm taking us out to our first break. We shall return in just a few minutes with more of the Vixen's Vault.
All right, we're on radio break. You guys are rolling tonight. Oh yeah,
dude. But just this past week, I'm like. And not only the night before, like I said, they freaking the White House announces that the East Wing is a national security issue, and I'm like, oh come on! Of course it's that big. What if I said it's when they erected those barricades? It's because they don't want the Democrats know what they're doing in there, and that's because all the tunnels from World War II are under the East Wing. Mm-hmm. That's where they all are. Like, yes. And actually, I think the war room, the underground bunkers under the East Wing too, if I'm not wrong. It's like, yeah, guys, yeah, let's just declare it national security issue. Then that way, the national, and I can't even believe they're trying to stop. The courts are trying to stop that. I'm like, what? Why would the federal courts have anything to do with any construction done on the White House? I mean, every president has made their little personal mark on the White House all over history. Barack Obama put a basketball court in there, for God's sakes. I mean, and not one word was said.
Oh, did you see?
Trump, what's this I heard?
Censorship. John was talking about all the presidential plaques and that down the hallway and that. How he. Yep. The one that he put up special just for Barack and also Biden.
Biden, yep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm like, oh, that.
Did I hear he's going to be illegalizing pot federally, at least on paper again?
He's going to make it Schedule 3, which knocks it out of that really nasty category it's in on the federal level, which that should have been done a long time ago. The only reason it wasn't is because of Big Pharma.
Yeah.
But the only reason
the opposite, reinstating it or whatever, making it illegal on the paper. I don't know what I was thinking, but that's
they're looking to knock it down to a Schedule 3. It's still going to be illegal, but not nearly what it was. But again, that's probably
in my state,
because
it's legal.
In Florida, it's legal if you have a prescription, and it's not something they really. Right now, their focus is fentanyl.
Well, that's what I mean. It's state to state. I thought it was going to be where he's trying to make it a federal law, but I could be mistaken. I probably am.
Well, wait a minute. Marijuana being illegal has always been a federal law.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. It's a schedule.
I guess that's something for the courts to decide because the states have been deciding for the last 4 years.
Yeah. Which they're in violation.
I buy my chronic legal.
It's Schedule 1.
Federally, which is no medical use.
Yep. So I mean, it's he's looking to pop it down to a Schedule 3, which is much more amenable. But Schedule 1, that's because of Big Pharma and Lycra. DuPont, the patents with DuPont, but it's it's stupid that it's where it's at. But I always said, and Ralphie will back me up on this. I said it on the show many times, many years ago, that the only time pot will ever become legal in the United States of America is when Big Pharma has their fingers into it and they can control and spin a profit off it, more of a profit than they get as an illegal drug. Because the courts and the counties and the states all profit off the arrests and the seizures and everything else that goes along with marijuana being an illegal drug. Yep. So when they could found a way to make it more profitable as something legal, then we'll see it legalized. And that's exactly what happened.
I'm guessing in the UK, maybe in 20 years' time, you might see it as a taxable product like cigarettes and Moco.
Yeah, and I can see in the very future that R.J. Reynolds and some of these tobacco companies are going to go into the marijuana business. You're under 30 seconds.
Absolutely.
Coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I thought R.J. Reynolds was already going into it. I believe they're already,
They
you know,
probably have.
yeah.
They're in
Yeah.
both
I'm surprised
medical,
they haven't.
medical and tobacco is what they're into. So
And here's your countdown: 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you are live and back on the radio side right now.
And we are back, December the 17th, 2025. Again, the last show of the year for the Vixen's Vault and all of the other radio shows that the Dragus Production Company puts out on the network every week. But it's like I said, I'm trying to do my year-end review here because I'm not going to get a New Year show. And I just from December 1st on, it's like, yeah, nope, not going to get all this in. I mean, even on the other side of things, like within the last month, there was a release of information about Bermuda and the fact that a structure was found, basically 8,000 miles under, or 8,000 feet underneath Bermuda, or was it Bermuda or Bahamas? One of them. Literally is a stone structure that is not volcanic, and it lifts the island. Like complete, it's kind of like Puerto Rico with the negative gravity that nobody can explain. That's underneath Puerto Rico, and it's
I can explain it. Puerto Rico, shit.
You know, it's so, like I said, it's so interesting how much information is surfacing right now, and whether it be on the political side of things, whether it be on the what everybody's called tongue-in-cheek paranormal side of things, there's a lot of information that is pushing to the surface, and it's coming like, it reminds me of like this little itty-bitty little snowball. You make this little pea-sized snowball at the top of a hill, and you wet it, and you just roll it, and it turns into this giant ball by the end of the hill. Well, that's kind of what's happened in the last 2 months with information. Just so much is out, and so much is going on. And even, you know, like this weekend, like I said, we had all these shootings. We had all this information coming out of the White House. You got Venezuela, by the way. I don't know what Trump is saying right now, but I do know he was doing a primetime address at 9 p.m. tonight that he released the press release on yesterday. And I had a bad feeling in my stomach that something was gonna happen with Venezuela. In fact, war was the only thing that I could think, because that's what kept repeating in my head. But about an hour ago, before this address went off, a bunch of F-22s took off out of Langley Air Force Base, and I'm like, well, that's not good. So we can only guess what's happening, and I can only guess right now what the president's saying. I won't be able to update that until I go on break again and I can look. But lots going on, guys. A lot going on. And, you know, a lot of it, you know, as much as people hate me when I say this, and I know Vicky will back me up on this, a lot of this stuff is, again, right in line with the Q drops. Yeah. I mean, right down to Castle Rock. I couldn't believe Rob Reiner got murdered. I'm like, oh, come on! It's like, good Lord. How much more evidence do people need? But not just that. I mean, one of the most famous things that Q dropped was actually a picture of George Washington crossing the Potomac. And what people forget is the date that happened. Most people totally forget that happened on Christmas Day.
You mean across the Delaware?
The Delaware, not the Potomac, the Delaware. Yeah, sorry, I don't know why I keep saying Potomac.
We reenact it each Christmas.
Every Christmas. It was one of the, I think Q dropped that photo twice. So, you know, as somebody as an anon, it's something that whenever they do that, you're always going to, that's what we call a marker. So we're going to keep an eye out for something that deals with that. So we always knew something was going to happen near Christmas. And of course, when the Nashville bombing happened,
I'm sorry.
And today's the 17th.
New Jersey, so yeah, it's wild. They do that every Christmas. But
yeah, out of New Hope, and they're New Hope, the PA.
Yeah, yeah, it was a tradition we used to do every Christmas when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Well, and the fun thing is that, you know, again, all these things swirl in my head because I'm like, oh my God, it all fits. We're going into Christmas season now, and literally again, because that photo was dropped several times, I'm like, yeah, something's going to happen on Christmas. But we forget the Nashville bombing happened on Christmas, and you forget people forget what building got bombed that day. And I'm like, guys, it was the AT&T motherlode building, like all their data set. That was all their data there for their government phones and systems. I mean, it was the motherlode, and the FBI annex was like right there next to it. So, like, again, this was not an accident. This wasn't coincidental placement. Somebody just, I don't like AT&T, I'm going to bomb it. No. And not just that, but what made it really interesting was what was the last 15 seconds before that bomb went off. There was a very specific song playing. Do any of you guys remember what the song was?
I sure don't, and I have the video.
Yeah.
of the cop's body cam.
Again, it was a very, very specific song.
I don't.
All I remember is there was a countdown, and in the last 10 seconds, there was a very different countdown, and then boom. And they wanted you to believe these two cops had missed being blown up by literally 23 seconds, I think it was, when I aired it on the D program, and we kept rewinding it.
Yeah. You mean the cops that gave the actual, kept...
Well, no, there was two cops that they have video.
Yeah, they gave a blow-by-blow.
Of the camera on the cop's chest, and the countdown happening, and it hasn't gotten to the last 10-second part yet. They turned the corner at probably 20, 15, whatever, right when that would start. They turned the corner. No more than 10 seconds do they turn that corner. You just see boom, and you see all kinds of crap blowing, down the street. So basically, if they would have passed that Winnebago 44 seconds earlier, they would have both been blown to smithereens, basically. I mean, that's the narrative that you get in your head when you watch the body cam footage.
The last 15 seconds, the song Downtown was played. And I got to tell you guys, there's a really specific lyric in that song that really stood out because of the weekend. There are movie shows downtown. Maybe you know some little places to go to where they never close. And I'm like, oh
wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. How about that?
Yeah. So, like I said, I know people hate when you go down that conspiracy rabbit hole, but a lot of it does make sense, and it is coming together, and it's like, now you just got to decide what side of the psyop are you on.
There's a lot of people that have picked apart that particular happening. I mean, it's not just people sitting in a dark room picking ideas out of them. I mean, you can go on 153news.net. You can go on BitChute. You can go on Rumble. There's people that have picked it apart pretty darn good.
Because it was kind of like the Tesla bombing, where it made national news for exactly one day and then it disappeared. And with the Tesla Las Vegas bombing, that's another one. And he was talking about, I mean, that guy, his little note that he left, that little mission statement, basically talked about basically UFOs and ET tech and his involvement. And like I said, I do not believe in coincidences like that. I'm sorry. It's kind of like believing these two shootings that happened over the weekend, both where you had survivors who were also survivors from other shootings. And yeah, I do not believe in those type of coincidences. It's way too much. And at the same time, we had, literally on Saturday, Trump actually went after Israel a little bit because they violated the ceasefire. And again, that did not make national news. You had to go looking for that information. So there's a lot going on. And you got Venezuela. You had the oh my God, the president of Mexico. Oh, she's a beaut. She's a beaut. Basically saying that she had a hard time with fentanyl being declared a weapon of mass destruction in the United States because, after all, Mexico needs to make money off selling fentanyl to us. What? What? Okay, Miss Scheinbaum. Okay. I mean, and by the way, let's go support Venezuela too. And I know everybody keeps thinking Venezuela is about oil. It's not about oil. For the love of God, it's not about oil. It's got nothing to do with oil, guys. It's got everything to do with Smartmatic in 2020. Everything to do with it.
It's because it doesn't have a Jewish-run state bank, central bank.
Or you think it doesn't. I don't know about that.
They do regime change, it's for a lot of different reasons, at least a dozen. They don't kill 3 or 4 birds at one stone when they do regime change. They kill like a dozen.
Well, and my thing is, too, is that we put Maduro in there in many ways. Our CIA has been ass deep in Venezuela for a long time now and controlling strings. And they don't play. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's almost like I'm seeing these little... Everything that's happening, it's like, are they trying to force everything to the surface with the CIA where it cannot be denied, where the public cannot miss what's going on? But apparently we have a really stupid public because holy crap, I have never, oh, God love it.
Kool-Aid.
It's not even that they drank the Kool-Aid. It's almost like they're so overwhelmed with chaos and feeling, it's like they intentionally, how do I put this? Okay, so they made a bunch of victims out of our society intentionally. Like, we have a completely victimized society, and that's on both sides of politics. I'm just going to put that out there to everybody.
And when we're not victimized, we're sitting around scared to death waiting to be victimized.
Well, okay, so even like, and I will be the first one to say that, during the Biden administration and even during COVID, yeah, I will tell you, man, Christians were absolutely getting hammered. I mean, they were definitely being singled out and hammered. And, I got to laugh because, again, here's a religion that is taught, the basis of the Christian religion is the teachings of Jesus. And the teachings of Jesus were turn the other cheek. And sometimes I think that was a setup to make them sheep where they're not going to fight. Because their whole religious doctrine is about turning the other cheek, forgiving. And I thought, no other religion is about turning the other cheek. Tell Israel to turn the other cheek. And good luck with that. Have fun. Tell, the Muslims to turn the other cheek before they burn you or throw you off a building. Because literally, Christians are the only ones. And they are the largest group almost. I think actually Muslims there might be more Muslims now, although there's a lot of Buddhists too. But
it's not,
like I said,
not a part of the world system. That's
but
what it is.
The Western world is Christian, okay, correct, for the most part. Mm-hmm. And they go by the teachings of Christ, which I believe are beautiful teachings. But they're also, okay, Vicky, don't take this wrong. Just go la 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 while I'm saying this.
Okay.
They're beta teachings. They're basically an instruction book on how to be a beta. And that doesn't mean you don't have a strong voice. It means that Christians will not resort to violence. They really won't. That's why there's a huge most of the conservatives are Christian. They very rarely will resort to violence unless they've completely snapped. It's just not their go-to.
Well,
the Crusades,
though? The Crusades, they were not Christians. They were the Illuminati. They didn't have Christian beliefs.
Well, the Templars did.
They didn't.
But they were also the Black Madonna. The Templars actually worshipped the Black Madonna or
they were not
Mary
Christians.
Magdalene.
They were not Christians.
They were more Mary Magdalene. They actually believed the Magdalene survived and moved to, I think it was France. And I actually, Brown, the books he wrote, in fact, Vicky sent me one, which was wonderful. But that is based on a lot of fact. He did a lot of research. So, I mean, it's, the Templars. But they got taken out by Rome, not because they were heretics, but because they were richer than Rome. So, I mean, Friday the 13th, that is true. That Friday the 13th was when they executed the head of the Templars. And
I have my theory on that too, though. The Templars, I believe, actually did turn heretic, but it's because when they started doing excavations under the dome, they found out the truth about what Christianity and the Jewish religions were. And they realized that they had pagan roots that were...
And they were still doing the pagan thing.
And
they really were.
That's why
Well,
they did
they still
their.
kind of do. I mean, Christians celebrate Christmas as the birth of Christ, but it's symbolic, because if you actually go by the Bible and look and trace it, actually 9/11 is
Correct.
almost every scholar believes that 9/11 is the actual birth of Christ,
Mhm.
which I think is very interesting because of what happened on 9/11. And I'm like, yeah, that was kind of spitting in the eye of Christians, but okay.
There
But
is
the
enough
point-
argument to say he was born in June, July.
If you look it up, they'll tell you most scholars believe that because of the dating of the Jewish celebrations that are mentioned in the Bible, it would put it right on pretty much September 11th, September 10th.
Yeah,
But
you have
September
to-
11th is the day that they
You have to
state.
correlate the blood moons, though. A lot of people leave that out when it comes to the Jewish. The Jewish actually do keep their calendar according to the blood
Yes.
moons.
Yes,
Okay.
which should tell you something. Okay, again, as a pagan, I'm going to tell y'all, blood sacrifice, blood anything, very, very strong mojo. We're just going to put it that
Well,
way.
they were
The beta
always
thing is
moon
not about
worshippers.
that.
That's why their days start at midnight.
Yep. Yes, very true. Very true. But again, it's like I tell you guys, I stand outside, I just shake my head because I'm like, they condemn pagans. They actually cooked like they barbecued pagans for years, and yet a lot of their beliefs all the way across the board are what they rail against. The resurrection. Okay, well, guess what? That's necromancy. Just put that out there. It's necromancy. I mean, Cain and Abel. It's like, yeah, well, Cain gave an agricultural offering and Abel was a blood sacrifice. So it's messed up because I look at it with very different views. But to me, again, that does not take away from it doesn't take away from the true believers, but it does take away from the people at the core, the people at the top of these systems, because they know this. I mean, like my uncle, who was a priest for 35 years, used to laugh at me because I would say things like that. And he'd just look at me and go, Nancy Ann, you are not supposed to say things like that. I'm like, what? But it's true. I don't understand it.
The Catholic, that's really different too. I mean, that's why there was a Reformation. But the point of the Christians, they're going against the world system, and you say, well, it looks very beta, but that's a bit shocking to the alphas. You know what I'm saying? That's not what they're expecting. So they're like, okay, when a Roman soldier says you have to take, to a Jewish person, you have to carry my, luggage for a mile, and they take it for 2 miles, that shakes them up. They're like, okay. Why?
Yeah, but it also makes them not question.
No,
like we're seeing,
they do question. They do question.
No. I'm saying in current times, though, Vicky. In current times, how many Christians actually stood up for their faith during COVID? How many Christians told the government to shove it up their butt and twist when they shut the churches down?
Well,
which they had, by the way.
Some did. There's some.
Some did. You're right. Some did. Actually, he was in Tampa. He's where I'm from. It was one of our local guys that did that. In fact, I'll never forget it because, the sheriff in Hillsborough County got fried for doing that, but he was doing his job. But it didn't matter. It should never have happened. It was unconstitutional. That lockdown should never have occurred.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed to be focused on one religion only. So yeah, that was problematic. But again.
And to have the strip clubs opened and deemed as needed, and to have on Sundays, I mean, right across from a church on Sundays in California, they'd have a strip club open because it was deemed, what's that word, where the kids could drive 16 years old going to McDonald's, because if you worked at McDonald's, you were essential. That's right. So the strip clubs were essential, but church was not essential.
Yep. Which again, it was. But again, most Christians, but for the most part, Vicky, across the country, if you do the actual statistics, most Christians didn't even blink. They stayed home. They didn't fight it. They didn't blink. They stayed home. And that is what has come to be expected in some ways. It's kind of like,
well, there is a law and order thing that, Christians
Yes, that's
you are
it.
supposed
But
to have to respect, the
yes,
government
and
in
conservatives. Yep.
place, that that's your job, because God put the people who are in charge in charge. That's like render
But
unto
that is a
Caesar.
really messed up way to think, because who said that? Did God come to somebody and say, I'm putting everybody, this person in charge? No, he did not. Not in recent times. Not that I'm aware of. Not unless that person told you that's what God said. I mean, so to
Well,
me, these are
scriptural.
man-made
It's
mandates.
from Scripture. They said, God is the one. You'd have to go back to Proverbs.
That was 2,000 years ago.
Yeah,
Scripture
Well,
was
that's
2,000 years ago.
That's where you think they're getting it from. That's still relevant today. It's not as if you don't have Christian religions that don't, go with those tenets.
But again, look what that's resulted in, though. We've got Israel running ramshot right now in the Middle East, basically telling everybody that Trump's in their pocket. I mean, literally, it is a joke right now.
Well,
and nobody questions them. But why does nobody question them? Because they're the chosen. Because that's what Christians are taught. They're the chosen.
Well,
they've been abused.
A prophecy that has been, Israel has been reestablished. That's part of, the end times prophecies. So now what they're not understanding is that the people in charge of, not that the land is not, they're bought and given to them by the Rothschilds, by the way, but the Zionists, they are not part of the true children of Israel. But they, because of the Khazarians, their history, they are hiding behind Judaism.
Well, it's kind of funny because, like I said, I've seen the Zionist spin on this, though. I gotta tell you, man, Zionists are like really good at spinning.
Yes, they
literally,
are.
Holy crap. I feel like I'm on Spin Factor with O'Reilly. It's like, but
yeah.
I mean, they spin it as, well, it's the fate. First it was the bloodlines. When Israel was first, cordoned off, and people have to imagine, like, the Balfour Agreement and all that actually goes from the late 1800s is kind of when that first started quirking up. It was still the Ottoman Empire over there.
Mm-hmm.
The area in question was still the Ottoman Empire, and by post World War I is when Balfour really started to have some movement. And that's when Rothschild went and basically said, we'd like to go home to our homeland. Well, what it's not your homeland. You're Eastern European. It's not. What are you talking about? And at that time, they were saying that it was a blood thing. It was, the blood of our people, where we want to go home to our homeland. It's our land. God gave it to us. And of course, we all know what happened after post-World War II, where that area was sectioned off and given to them. Well, the problem being is that, is it because now the spin with the Zionists is because now it's been proven that genetically speaking, the Palestinians carry more Israeli blood of the ancient bloodline than the freaking Jews do. But now they're
more
saying,
Semitic
well,
blood.
Correct, more actual Semitic blood. So now the argument is, well, it's about the belief. And I got to tell you guys, I'm laughing because over the past year on Facebook, I've been noticing all these ads popping up on my Facebook telling Americans that if they believe that they're Jewish or they want to be Jewish, that they're welcome to become Israeli citizens. And I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Am I really reading this advertisement?
And you know what? That Semitic thing is really simple to understand. You've got the line of Shem, and Vicky will know this. You've got the line of Shem, and you've got the line of Japheth. So, and Japheth is where the Jewish folk come from. So, if anything, you'd say anti-Japhethic, but anti-Semitic wouldn't be the term at all.
See, okay, Fabio down there. I see Mark down there. He's getting ready to do a Fabio flip. He's doing the bloody Americans. I can hear you, Mark. Stop thinking so loud.
He's fed up with all this religious talk. We had him talking triality the other day, and he just...
Oh, no!
Yeah,
ouch.
Ouch. That's painful.
Yeah, triality's that's a really deep... Ooh, I hope you were awake when you were having that conversation.
He was barely holding on. Like his eyes were like falling out.
Oh, God. All right, guys, I got to take us out to our long break for the evening. We are running up on the 10 o'clock hour. When we return, I'm hoping our guest will join us. I really, really do hope he does, because I think it'll be a really incredible conversation. But in the interim, I'm happy with my people that are here with me and yet for another Christmas and New Year. All right, guys, hang in there. We will return with the Vixen's Vault in just a few moments.
And then you'll let your people go, right?
And then I'll let my people go. Oh, God,
my
don't
God.
even put me on that platform.
That got
no.
on the last part of that.
You know, 5 churches just burned down after you said that. What the hell are you doing, Vicky?
Let my people go.
I'm glad you didn't get into. I'm glad you didn't get into the Pope and how he's the mouth of
the serpent
Christ.
master.
All right, and then later how he appointed the King of England to be the vicar of the world.
Yep. Yep.
And doesn't he wear a yarmulke on his head too?
Yeah, put on your yarmulke. It's time for Hanukkah.
Yes.
It's almost Hanukkah because it's over almost. I think.
Yeah, actually, Hanukkah is almost over.
It was the weekend. Yep. It started the same day as
Hanukkah. I was going to say Hanukkah is. It's 7 days for Hanukkah. It's literally a 7-day feast.
8.
Don't worry.
So
8 crazy nights.
Right.
8 crazy nights.
7 nights. Yep. But it's literally not. It's not like Christmas, and they get presents every day too, man. Damn it, they do it right. Damn it. And by the way, noodle pudding is like the bomb. I'm gonna put that out there too. Oh God,
I was trying to take a drink when you said that, and it just didn't. I mean, oh my God, it almost came out my
bread
nose.
pudding here.
Don't do that.
States.
Come on,
Oh God, I had a years ago. I had a little Jewish lady give me her recipe for noodle pudding because she used to make every year at Hanukkah, and I'd be like, oh my God, I need the recipe for that stuff because I could just inhale it. It's not real heavy. It's not super sweet. It's just perfect.
That's what they make here in Southern Illinois. They call it bread pudding.
It's noodles, not bread. So there's that.
I mean, it's the same thing.
And I'm going to close it out and call you all back, and hopefully Brent will be in when we come back.
There he is.
I'm going to go see what the hell the president
hold on
said.
here. Hold on.
Yes,
hey, Brent, you there?
I am. Greetings to all.
Greetings.
Greetings.
I'm going to close this room, and I'm going to bring you right back in when we come back. Okay, Brent?
All right, you got it.
Okay. All right, folks, stick around. We got Brent Hamachek for the second hour of the Vixen's Vault. Who knows what Brent will talk about tonight? He always has something great. So, and he's been on Censorship's show many times. Let's get this rolling. Get Brent in here. There you go, Brent. Are you in? Uh-oh, hold on. You get Brent in here and our hostess.
There you are, Mark.
Here I am.
You doing okay?
So far, so good. Now, Brent's going to take a lot of the time in here, so we're all going to need to be quiet, because he's got a lot to say, I know.
I hope he was not listening to all of our chitter-chatter going back and forth.
Yeah. I think I got everybody. Did I miss anybody?
Yeah, you missed Brent.
It's Vicky.
No. Brent's being called right now.
Oh, Vicky. You forgot Vicky.
Mark Edworthy?
No, Vicky's being called right now.
I don't see Mark.
Mark's probably still on the call on the other side. He hasn't. He's still asleep.
I'm thinking Vicky might be on the call on the other side, too. There's Mark.
Yeah. Mark Edworthy's back.
I come in here and Mark would just talk, especially with Brent coming in. You'd think he'd be respectful and just keep quiet.
Oh, my God.
That dude.
Mark talks with his face.
Always.
I watch Mark's face through like half of the show because he talks with his face. I think it's hysterical.
No,
I'm trying to get a hold of Brent right now.
I was talking about Mark Watoshik.
Let me.
Watoshik?
Yeah, I warned Jaffe too about your bad jokes.
Here we go.
So
Oh, that's why. Hey, Brent.
Plug him in.
You in?
He's in here.
Okay. Hi, Brent. How are you?
Couldn't be any better, Nancy. How are you doing?
I'm hanging in there. I'm trying to catch up on what the president was talking about because we were on there, and I'm like, I said to everybody on the panel, oh, crap. We're all missing it because we're on the air, and I'm not going to try to, especially with the conversations, we're trying to recap. And I was like, I could recap the year, but since December 1st, there's more to recap, than pretty much the whole year at this point because things have been happening, like just firing off left and right.
They have been. Well, and I watched it, and I'm still trying to figure out what was said. So there you go. It wouldn't have helped you much.
I found it interesting because right before he went on air, about 25 minutes before he went on air, a bunch of F-22 Raptors took off out of Langley. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting timing. So I got to wonder exactly what's going on. Somebody's got feedback.
I think hold on here. Let me check real quick. Nope. I thought it was me, but it's not.
Is it me?
No,
I don't think so.
The last time that happened, Brent, it was because you had your phone and your laptop both going at the same time on John's show. So what do you want to talk about tonight, Brent?
Yeah, I need to get a feel. We've got a long break right now.
Well, I'm a guest. I'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. So I'm old, so I've been around.
Dude.
Oh, come on now.
So I get to learn about things, right? So whatever you want to talk about, I'm in. Whatever the topic is, I'll join along. But
okay. So first of all, that's not how that works, and we both know that. We learned from you. That's kind of how that works. But I mean, you've written some really, really cool. I mean, you wrote the book. You co-wrote the book with Vladimir Zelenko, which I give you much kudos and respect for because he is somebody that I followed.
Right.
Was definitely affected by his loss, but. What an incredible man, and spoke the truth, and kept to the truth, and tried to give people the best advice he could during a real hard time. So I give you kudos for that. That's incredible. When we were talking, I was looking up different things. I'm like, oh my God, that's right. He did write that book with him. I totally forgot about that. So it was really, and of course you basically wrote Charlie's first book.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, time for a turning point. So, Charlie was the public figure with the following, and I wrote it. And he and I worked together for 10 years, because it was a year of a gap. So we worked with each other from January of 2014 until January of this year, I should say. Feels like a year passed, but and there was a year off in that, so that would be an 11-year run, but it was a 10-year run with 1 year off.
Are you okay talking about that when we go back live? I don't want to. Okay.
Yeah, no, I'll talk about anything. Look, again, I'm old, right? So it with age comes boundaries, and so it's easier than when I was young, when you didn't know when to stop.
Gotcha.
Now I just have a hard time starting, right? So a whole different thing.
Well, it's funny because I left my favorite book that you wrote to last, and it's something that I give you huge respect for, and that's Dissidently Speaking.
Oh my God! Yes, talk a lot about that. Yeah, please.
I mean, because I got to tell you, you summed up something I've been saying for a decade on the air, which is that they've used language as a weapon.
30 seconds.
And they've used definition as a weapon in many ways. But that can be switched. You can turn that around. You can do this. It can be deployed against them if you know what you're doing and you're articulate. But huge kudos on you with that, because that was, Mark, are you sure it's 30 seconds? Because
here you go.
Yeah, it is 10 minutes.
Here's your countdown. 5.
Thanks for the kind words.
3, 2, 1, and you are back live and on the radio side for the second hour of the Vixen's Vault right now.
You know, guys, normally I come in from the long break and I do my normal ramble, you know. Wednesday, December 17th, 2025. The time is 10:05 p.m. I feel like, you know, we used to have to call, I think it was 411 to get the time when we were young. You know, we had rotary phones and stuff.
Yeah.
But this time, you know, it's funny because Mark, my producer, it's like he's got this thing with the timing and the lag, and he'll stretch out. You're on the air right now. So, yeah, this time he did it pretty well. But again, welcome back to the Vixen's Vault. I am really, really pleased tonight because I have a really special guest. And I know my listeners on Telegram and Facebook, Telegram especially, the Parlor Hub chat, people who came over from Parlor when it got dismantled and made a massive Telegram chat. Actually, Vicky is also in that chat with me. A lot of really great people, a lot of really great patrons in that chat. I know a lot of them are listening in right now, or will be listening at a later time. So tonight, I have a really great guest, Mr. Brent Hamachek. And those of you who are familiar with Turning Point, and actually, Jeepers Creepers, forget Charlie Kirk. I mean, Brent, you stand forward in your own right. I mean, I remember you as when you would appear on Fox. I mean, like when Mark said your name, I was like, yeah, I know who that is. I mean, it was not an unfamiliar name to me because I had heard your name multiple times. I've been in podcasting for decades now, and I do tend to slam into the political side of things. Even though I focus on conspiracies, you can't stay out of politics when you talk about conspiracies. Because that's true. They go hand in hand. So it's like, yeah, I was really excited when Mark said you had agreed to come on the show. And like I said, you've written some incredible books and made some incredible points with those books. Number one, and to my listeners, I mean, Brent wrote Charlie Kirk's first book, which is phenomenal to me after what, of course, has occurred. And I don't give a crap what you think happened with Charlie Kirk. The fact is we lost an incredible man. And I say that with all sincerity. You guys have heard me on the show a million times say I take nothing away from Charlie. What I get angry about is that I feel like we're being jerked around with the investigation into what happened, and that is a disrespect to Charlie. It's wrong. They need to be straight, and at least if they're trying to figure things out, then just don't say anything till you got it all figured out. But he was a great man, and he did great things, and I think he was the one shining hope conservatives had to maybe kind of turn the page again and make people, you know, and it's not a matter of being Christian. It doesn't really matter what faith you are. Ethical and moral, because that's what we've kind of lost in society here in the States, and we've lost it like hook, line, and sinker. Like it's went into the crapper. But that, without any actually going into further detail, because I really want to give Brent the mic, I'd like to introduce everybody to Mr. Brent Hamachek. And again, I'm just like super excited to have him here. Brent, tell my listeners about yourself. How did you start? What made you get into what you do? Because you're kind of like a jack of all. You're all over the place.
Yeah, I'm a little bit, you know, some people are nice and they say, wow, you've got a really diverse skill set, and which is a nice way of saying maybe that I, you know, can never hold a job, right? So I did wound up doing a lot of different things. But look, after starting my professional career out of college in the banking industry for 15 years, the last 26 years have been extraordinary. And I'm very aware that very few people get to enjoy their professional life the way that that I have. I mean, I've basically worked for myself for 26 years and worked with all kinds of companies, done all kinds of things, and so I'm really fortunate. And but the thing that brings me to your show, you mentioned Charlie Kirk, and the quick story for your audience is that I had a very successful business consulting practice going back, and it was around the middle of 2013. And I sat and had lunch with a friend of mine one morning and talking a little political theory and some original stuff that I had put together. And it just over, bacon and eggs. And he asked me if I had heard of this young guy by the name of Charlie Kirk, who had started something called Turning Point the year before. And I said, no, I hadn't. He said, well, I think you should reach out to him. He said, I was introduced to him recently, and I think you could help him. And I kind of laughed, and he said, how on earth would I help some kid who started a campus organization? And anyway, he thought it was a good idea, and he gave me Charlie's business card, and I promptly lost it. And I saw him maybe a month or so later, and he said, did you ever reach out to Charlie? And I said, I didn't. And he said, well, I'm going to set up a dinner. And he did here in the Chicago suburbs. And we sat down that night. There were 5 of us at the table for over 3 hours. And really, there were 2 of us at the table. Because despite the 31 and a half years of age difference between us, Charlie and I, as we used to put it, it wasn't about agreeing on things. It's that we seemed to process data the same way. And so our minds melded a bit. And what happened then, that was in October, by the way, of 2013, time of year relevant in that we stayed in touch a little bit by email. And on New Year's Day in 2014, he actually sent me an email, and it had attached to it a Word document. And he told me he was trying to write a column that he wanted to get published in the Washington Times, and he was having some trouble with the ending. And he asked me if I'd take a look at it. Now, keep in mind, at that point in time, I had no writing pedigree at all. I mean, I wrote a great email, I suppose, in business, and my old girlfriend would have said I wrote beautiful letters in high school and college, but no writing background. And so I took a look at it. And yeah, he was having trouble with the ending and the beginning and the middle. It was kind of a mess. And so what I did is I played with it on my laptop, and I reworked it so that it kept the structure of what he was trying to say, but I guess maybe said just a little bit better. I flipped it back to him. He wasn't offended. He turned it into the Washington Times, and they ran it. And so we sat down a few weeks later for breakfast at a local restaurant here where we used to meet. And I said, look, why don't we have some fun? You're an up-and-coming superstar. I'm an aged nobody, but apparently I can type. Why don't we try something where you come up with ideas and I'll write columns and you go get them published? And so we tried that. And somewhere between 750,000 and 1 million column words later, we called it quits. But for a very long time, I had the pleasure of being Charlie's writer, led to writing a book together. I wrote Turning Point's original tabling literature that they would give out at events and campuses. I wrote 6 of the first 7 booklets that they generated. Wow. And and used to train. I trained Charlie in persuasive communication, and then ultimately started training the Turning Point activists at their conferences in persuasive communication. And then finally, I mean, there's no harm in sharing this. It's not like it's some big secret, but I was also his private tutor for political theory. So we covered everything from the ancient Greeks to the 20th century pragmatists and everybody in between. So that's the background. That's the story. I used to, before he was assassinated, these are things I didn't share because it wasn't appropriate. And now I share it only because people are curious. And but in sharing all that, the last thing I'll say, and then I'll let your audience wake up and hear your lovely voice, is that, a lot of people give me credit for a lot of things that relate to Charlie, and I'm always quick to correct them. Because here's what you have to know. The kid was an absolute genius. He was destined to be incredibly successful. So I wasn't someone who gets credit for anything about Charlie. I am I was a, early 50s-year-old guy that Charlie met and gave me an opportunity to work with him. Anybody could have done what I got a chance to do with him. I'm just the one that got picked. So nothing special here, just fortunate.
I don't know if that's true though, because again, I am not a believer in coincidence. I have a very, I guess you could say, very strong belief that everything occurs for a reason, including the people that are brought into our lives and the people who leave our lives. But I mean, I think nobody could have taught him political theory the way you did. And because of the way you taught him, he became the communicator because he understood more about who he was communicating with, what message he wanted to give, and how to do that in the appropriate arena, even in a negative arena. Because people need to understand, Charlie was in enemy waters all the time. Like, that was his favorite place to navigate.
Well, I'll share a fun story with you in that regard, your audience. So everybody knows about the viral videos that Charlie made that really launched a lot of his success, I guess, or certainly public awareness. And this would have been back in like the later part of the last decade when he was stepping into crowds at rallies and campuses and taking on, sort of the leader, if you will, of some sort of protest group. And Charlie would stand there and someone would be filming it, and he would start to ask that person questions. And in the process of doing so, he would sort of systematically take them apart, right? But he wasn't really taking them apart. They were taking themselves apart. And there was a technique that early days that we talked about. What I shared with him was, when you're engaging someone in a persuasive conversation, you have to first remember, who are you trying to persuade? And so one of the things he learned very well is that when he was in a large forum, whether it was in a public auditorium or being filmed in a crowd on YouTube, and he would get in that engagement where he would deconstruct someone through an organized and systematic questioning process, he knew he wasn't going to convert them. That was not like me sitting with someone in a coffee shop trying to, close a sale. What he was doing was trying to convert the people who were watching, because he knew that person was just going to get upset and frustrated and look foolish, and they'd get angry. But all the millions of people watching the video would be watching and saying, wow, she really didn't make any sense. She looked pretty simple. Boy, that Charlie Kirk guy, he really made her look kind of silly. I need to think about that more myself, right? So what he did was quite intentional. Certainly the student became the master. He was smarter and better at anything I ever taught him than I would have been. But, it's just great to work with him.
Yeah, he was almost like a savant, but it was really hard to put your finger on what exactly the gift was, because there were so many dimensions to him. And I mean, I will tell you, when he was assassinated, I had to kind of laugh. And a little background on me: I am not Christian. In fact, in the first hour, we were talking about how I don't ascribe to any, I guess you could say, organized religion, because to me, it's just, there's too much man-made influence in there, and it's too much corruption for me. I believe in a creator. I believe in energy, and I believe we're supposed to be doing certain things. We don't do it because we're taught to be afraid of what we're supposed to be doing.
You are a deist like I am, it sounds like.
Yes. And it was funny because I raised my children that way, but I also raised them to all different beliefs. Like, I taught them about as many beliefs as I could possibly table for them, and let they make their own decisions. And my daughter went towards Catholicism, and my son is kind of like me. Well, when Charlie Kirk was assassinated, my daughter's, yes, she's Catholic, but she doesn't practice or anything, never really talks about religion. She called me sobbing. I mean, sobbing. Mom, Charlie Kirk is dead. Somebody killed Charlie. And I knew that because I had the video of the assassination within, like 1 minute and 32 seconds because I actually do cybersecurity. I do technology. So
Right.
I'm getting stuff like real time pretty much. And I said to her, I didn't know you followed Charlie Kirk. And she says, Mom, he's awesome. He makes me so proud and da-da-da-da-da. And, he makes us look good. And I'm like, he makes us, why can't you make yourself look good? Why
Right.
can't everybody be a Charlie Kirk and just speak their mind, but do it in a polite way that is, you don't give ground because you believe what you believe, but in the same respect, you don't have to be confrontational and nasty. And I think that was the message that Charlie put out there that I really enjoyed. And I loved his morals. I loved his ethics because even though I identify as a pagan, that does not mean I'm not a moral person. I think everybody on this board will tell you I probably am one of the most moral people you'll meet because to me that all defines how you see yourself and then how you affect everybody around you.
Well, I think it's it's interesting that you feel even the need to qualify it that when you say that you're, pagan but you're moral, the idea that somehow or other folks that may claim to be Christian, Jewish, whatever particular religion they may observe, to the extent any of them think that they may have it right on ethics or that they may have the only actual system. That's just not factually true, right? I mean, you mentioned before we started that you read Dissidently Speaking, and
yep,
chapter on ethics, and
yep,
Charlie and I spent quite a bit of time, by the way, on ethics. We went through all the various ethical systems and broke them all down and talked about what they were and understood the similarities and differences, right? So, look, my ethics are objectivist. I think it's a wonderful system. I teach it. I live it, and I would put it up against any ethical system of any organized religion, especially once the person from the organized religion attempted to define their ethical system. That's what's kind of fascinating, because the truth is...
I told you it was my favorite book. I told you.
It's interesting because people will, and this is, by the way, is not a criticism of Christianity at all, but people will refer to a Christian ethic, and if you say to them, okay, tell me exactly what it is, it gets complicated after that. I mean, most folks will be able to say, love your neighbor as yourself, and then once you check that box, then when you say what else, the conversation goes in all sorts of different directions. So the Christian ethic seems to be one that is quite open to interpretation, whereas objectivist ethics aren't. So that's my system.
I agree with you, and I think everything is kind of it's perceptional, and you can't. I always say you can't judge somebody unless you've lived in their shoes and you've seen it through how it unfolds for them. I mean, it's just it's an impossible mission to judge people unless you've lived their life, and so I try not to do that. There are certain things, granted, I will slam a hammer down. I mean, to me, like I always say, pedophilia. There's certain things, but it also depends on where in the world you are. Because I always tell people, there are places in the world where a girl becomes of age to bear children, and she is that it is their culture to reproduce with them, to marry them off and have them reproduce. Just because they don't go with the Western rules doesn't make what they're doing wrong, because in their culture, it's not wrong.
Right. It's all pretty fascinating, right? The idea of, the Latin concept of malum in se or malum prohibitum, something evil in and of itself, or something evil simply because it's prohibited. And interesting that over the course of 10,000 years, humans have not come to universal agreements on everything that is actually malum in se, evil in and of itself. Still a good deal of difference in that. And then it's also interesting when we think about things being normal in the times that they were in. So I think one of the great struggles within one of the great struggles within, say, Islam, for example. Again, it's not a criticism, but it is, we know from the Quran and Hadith that apparently Muhammad was with some fairly young gals, at least one in particular, which is interesting. And then, of course, that was normal in their time. But then you say, but wasn't he a prophet? And wasn't he inspired by and led by and taught by God? And if the answer to that is yes, as it seems to be, well, then had God not become aware yet that eventually someday it might be wrong to be with a 9-year-old? Does God's standards, do they change? These are the kinds of things that people really need to think through, whatever faith they are, and they need to try to reconcile some of these things where if you're simply dogmatic about it or declarative, and you don't actually stop for a minute to say, wait, I need to try to make sense of this. I think whatever religion you are and whatever scripture it has, in order to observe it, you have to negotiate with it, and come to some understanding.
I don't disagree, but with that, I got to stop you because I got to take us out to our last break of the evening. Guys, it's the last break of 2025 for the Vixen'S Vault. Can you believe it? I don't know if I'm happy, sad, or where I'm at with that, but I am looking forward to 2 weeks off. Hang in there, guys. We will return with the last segment of Vixen'S Vault in just a few moments.
All right, we are on radio break, and that, what Brent was talking about before is stuff that they talk about in Common Core campus.
Like I said, that's one of the things I loved about Charlie, though, because Charlie dealt with everybody from all different walks, talks, and breeds, and he did it on a college campus. And college campuses are a whole dynamic, all their own. And I'm not going to say it's not a socialist stomping ground, because it's been a socialist stomping ground since the 1990s. Mm-hmm. So when you talk about going into one of the most difficult areas you could, yet the college students are very malleable still. And I think Charlie saw that. They're looking for direction in so many ways. And if socialism is the direction they're shown, that's the direction they're going to take. But if somebody shows them a different path, a lot of times they are open to it. They just want direction.
Right. Well, yeah. And socialism is, well, again, if you read Dissonantly Speaking, so I write about this. It's a term that's often used by people, just like the terms left and right are used, but people actually don't have any definition for them. They just use those terms to describe somebody they don't agree with. There's actually no hard and fast definition. There is a definition for socialism. It's very simple. And it's centralized planning, management, and oversight of economic, political, and social activity. That's socialism. And when you understand that definition, you have to come to realize something. And that is, this is a socialist country. We have a socialist government. Our president is a socialist. Now, he may not be of the same degree that Joe Biden was, or that Bill Clinton was, or that George Bush was, but he's a socialist. I mean, he just had a speech and talking about different central government initiatives, getting involved in healthcare, getting involved in other economic matters. These are socialist activities, right? And so we shouldn't really be arguing. We're living in the age of socialism, and we have been since about 1800, the early 1800s. We're still in it. And so the question is, as I posed in the book that I wrote that you meant good enough to mention, what we need to do is every time we make a decision on an action, we need to be asking ourselves a question. How much individual liberty am I willing to give up to solve this problem, whatever the problem is? And because anytime we take any form of concerted action, we have to give up freedom. That's definitional. Got to give up freedom if you're going to have a law, a rule, a regulation, policy. How much do we want to give up to solve this problem? If we could switch the debate in this country to be actually that debate
30 seconds
on every issue, well, then we could start to make some progress. Because in that context, maybe people would start to say, well, wait, I don't want to give up a bunch of individual liberty. They're all looking at the question the wrong way right now. at least in my simple mind.
Well, they have been.
All right,
though.
and
I mean,
here's your countdown.
ugh.
Let's get more into it when we get on air. 3, 2, 1, and you're live right now.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Vixen's Vault. I am your hostess, the Wiccan Vixen. Most of you know me as the Wiccan Vixen across social media, but those of you who know me as Nancy, we are back. And we had an incredible discussion on break regarding socialism. And I'm going to have Brent kind of reiterate what he was saying, because he made a point that is incredibly valid. And it's kind of like Hillary Clinton's personality. It's like the worst kept secret, but it's not really a secret. And he's right. Although I will say, I think FDR pushed us kind of right over the cliff with socialism in a lot of ways. I always say that. People think he was the greatest president. I was like, yeah, nope. He sold us down the river in so many ways you don't want to know. But Brent, repeat what you were saying. And by the way, he does mention this in his book, Dissidently Speaking. For those of you listening on Parlor Hub, go take a look at Brent Hamachek's books, because we haven't even touched on Vladimir, oh my God, Zelenko, which you guys in the Parlor Hub chat, we talked about him so many times. And again, Brent co-wrote a book with him also. So give it a look-see. He's all over Amazon. Brent, go for it.
Well, all of that is very kind, but during the break, we were just talking about socialism, and in the context you were talking about college campuses, and the point I was making is that we use the word socialist gets thrown around a lot, and but when you actually ask, you could try this, by the way, people in your audience, have some fun with this. If you've got some folks over on the holidays, and it's not the kind of group that gets angry easily, ask all of them to go around the room and define what socialism is. And I guarantee you, if you've got 10 people in the room, you're going to get 10 different answers. And it is one of the most commonly used terms in the American political lexicon. Here's a very simple definition of socialism. It is centralized planning, management, and oversight of economic, political, and social activity. That's it. And when you understand that that is the definition, then you have to come to grips with the fact that we live in a socialist country, and we have for a very long time. And it's become increasingly socialist over time. And you have to take a look, and you have to acknowledge that numbers today, I think the only one who can make a good argument is Rand Paul, that he's not a socialist. I think Rand's got a pretty good argument. The rest of them are all socialists. Our president's a socialist. I don't say that in a disparaging way. He is. He just gave a speech, talked about some big government activities involving the healthcare industry. That's socialism. He's not the socialism to the same degree that, say, Joe Biden was or Barack Obama. But still, there's this idea of using large government, large industry to impact economic, political, and social activity. That's socialism. Yep. What do we do to try to mitigate that and to try to reverse it as much as possible?
I mean, exactly. Can we? Go ahead, Rafi.
I tried making that very same point last week. A lot of the things we try to say we're a free country, but the reality is a lot of the things that we do are the very same things that we disparage quote unquote socialist countries for. If they nationalize natural resources to benefit themselves rather than our corporations, well, then they're bad. But if we do it under the guise of eminent domain, which is the same damn thing, it's somehow okay. People just can't read between the lines and realize that we are no longer a constitutional republic. We are a big government socialist entity that still pretends that we're a free republic.
Well, I find it interesting the way the way the United States structured out. I mean, it is an oligarchy by definition. It's an oligarchy, but they utilize that oligarchy platform. In other words, they utilize big industry, big business to actually perpetuate socialism, because it's kind of like Brent was saying earlier. You have to accept giving up this freedom to get this advantage. Well, like with my radio show, one of the reasons I never took my radio show to the next level, to a larger network, to somewhere, because I would lose. I own my radio show. It's mine. It's been mine since 2007. It's my show. I own it. If I take it to a network and I become slave to the sponsors, now I'm slave to what the sponsors want me to say and don't want me to say. And my paycheck, my money, depends on whether or not I'm doing something that my sponsors find acceptable. So yeah, I'm giving up my freedoms in order to stay within the system. It's just it's like a cage in so many ways. I mean, and you want, folks, you want an example. I mean, the Patriot Act, the NDAA, none of these things are constitutional. They're not constitutional. Come on, income tax, not constitutional, guys. None of it is.
Well, so that's fun stuff. These are the conversations that I like to have, because it's fun to have reasonable sort of disagreements with people, or see things from a different perspective, or just kick around to how say you see it or I see it. So I would argue, with regard to the income tax, I would argue 180 degrees from you. I would say it is constitutional. It was written into the Constitution. Now, I understand the arguments that are made. You were saying before we went on the air, you were talking about the whole conspiracy thing and those kinds of things. I'm familiar with those arguments. I've looked at them. From my perspective, I dismiss them. But here's the thing about it. Whether I'm right or wrong, I don't know. Here's what I do know. If you don't pay your income tax, you can go to jail. Yep. And I know plenty of folks who have. So you could make the argument it's not constitutional. And you could even perhaps win the argument in a coffee shop. But you will go to jail for not paying them. I've worked with clients who have, and so one of the things that's important in trying to address the problems in America is not to say what something truly isn't. It is about to say, what does it appear to be now, and what do we have to do to make it be different, right? So to make the argument that, so my thought would be, and this is not being dismissive at all of your construct, my argument would be, whether you're right or not about that argument with regard to income tax, to me isn't relevant, because it's here and we have to deal with the idea of it. So if we don't want to have it, we have to do something that's forward-looking to get rid of it, as opposed to looking backwards. But again,
so agree with you.
Yeah, not criticisms at all.
My point is, too, I think the American people as a whole, we see a lot of division, and I think a lot of that is intentional. I mean, they like us divided, because when we're divided, we can't fight them as a whole. We're too busy bickering with each other. But the fact is that to even get into the political arena, you have to have a certain amount of money. You have to have, a grassroots movement into an office that actually makes a major difference is almost unheard of. You have to have the backing of big money, and that big money backing does the talking. And I think that's where I've always said we need to get rid of the lobby. We need to get rid of the war chest. If you really want to have a truly free government and free elections, real honest to God elections, you cannot have corporations telling you how to run your campaign, or what you're going to run, or what the American people want or need. It has to be the people themselves that you're hearing. And that's not what's happening. I don't see, even with Trump. I love Trump. I voted for Trump. Actually, I supported Trump in 2012 when he tried to make his little run. I met him back in the 1990s in New York City, and there was something about his handshake that something about him. I can't put my finger on it. Trusted him immediately. And I got a very good, strong feeling from him, and I don't get that from a lot of people. Usually I get a real weird energy from people, but not with him. Very strong. I think we need that leadership in this country right now. Right, wrong, indifferent. I don't agree with everything he's done. It doesn't matter. The man still has 100% of my support. love him as a president. I think he's done more in a year than I've seen a president do in 100 years. I mean, honest to God, he's done quite a bit. But that being said, are we, as a country, where is the out? We've allowed war chests, and come on, Brent, let's be very honest. Those war chests are limited to not a large handful of people. You know, if you really want to trace all the money back, you're going to find very specific names at the bottom of that pile. And it's not a lot of people that are getting a say in what the American people are doing. And believe me, I know, you know, like I said to somebody, Venezuela, and my husband, Raphael, disagrees with me on this, but Venezuela is not about oil. And everybody keeps telling you it's about oil. It's not about oil. It is about Smartmatic voting systems. And I can tell you that as being an IT person. It is 100% about Smartmatic and the 2020 elections. Believe you me, it is. And again, he's not wrong. But that's something that simple. And the American people were aware that 2020, I don't think I met even a liberal who didn't know that the elections were rigged in 2020. It was just more of a, you know, conservatives were angry about it, whereas liberals were like, ha ha, doesn't matter that we cheated, you still lost. I think it was just a difference in how it was approached. But everybody knew a lot of shady business had happened. And you know what? Not one American stood up. Not one American stood up and said, why aren't the courts hearing Trump's arguments? Why are they not even being heard? How can we allow this to happen? And the ones who did stand up on January 6th still are trying to get clear of what occurred that day. I mean, I was there January 6th. So was Raphael. We didn't go in the Capitol, but we were both there. And I can tell you what happened that day, and I can tell you what the news put out there and what happened that day are two totally different animals. Very different animals. And nobody stood up. Even the attorneys that defended J6 defendants, those guys all need to be disbarred. Every single one of them. Because they didn't do their job as they took an oath to do as an attorney. So where's the justice, Brent? Where do the American people actually finally get their justice? They get their voices heard. Because it's not just me. There's literally millions of us who are saying enough isn't both sides of the coin for different reasons, obviously. But both sides are very unhappy with everything they're seeing. Both sides feel like their freedoms are getting thrown. I mean, with each new little security issue, you're losing more freedoms. You know, COVID, we lost a crap ton of freedoms. Does anybody think those freedoms are coming back? They're not. Once they're gone, they're gone. Good luck.
Well, you've covered a lot of ground, right? So where do we go with all of that? One thought that comes to mind is that with regard to money in politics, with regard to influential names or people or families or institutions, and this is where it's always interesting on the what you know. I wish we didn't call it conspiracy theories in a way, because it either gets people too into it or it gets them too dismissive of it. And to me, it makes it miss the point. If every single what we'll call conspiracy theory that you might be able to come with, that I gave you a sheet of paper and a pen, and you spent 10 minutes writing down every one you've got, and then if within the next 10 minutes we could prove that everyone on your list was right, what would we have learned? We would have learned that people in power tend to exploit the populace. We would learn that people with money and means tend to have control over the levers of government. We would learn that private groups oftentimes come up with plans to harm others for their own benefit. Those are the things we've learned. We know all that already. There's nothing about that that's 21st century America, 20th century America. Nothing to do with the Illuminati, the Freemasons, or the now I just drew a blank, the the skull and crossbones, whatever it is.
Skull and Bones. Yeah.
Thank you. It has nothing to do with that. Those are names and organizations from over time where people get together to do exactly what I just described. And so the thing about America is that our founding fathers, when they put this thing together, they were learned, and they weren't just products of the Enlightenment. They were still in it. It was still going on in 1776. I mean, that was the year Adam Smith published The Wealth of Nations, for example, the same year. So, and John Locke's influence is all over our founding. Montesquieu's, Cicero's, we can run off the names that are all over our founding documents, our commitments to individual liberty, our support of natural law, and our creation of a constitutional republic, representative democracy, right? All of it we can trace to those guys. Guess who else the founding fathers read? They also read Thomas Hobbes. And they knew that there was this part of us that is a beast, that it's a monster. And so what they tried to do is create a system that would maximize the individual liberty of every American and give the opportunity for a country to, for the first time, to embrace the notion of natural law, and at the same time control Hobbes' beast. And as I like to say, if you put a madman in a cement-walled cell with a really good spoon in an infinite amount of time, sooner or later he'll dig through the walls. And that's what we've done over 250 years. You know, we've dug through the walls of the system that was built to contain our nature. And that's why it's so hard to fix America. It's because the walls are down. We've dug through them. And now all these timeless elements of humans abusing other humans, all those timeless elements are loose here. And that's not new. And you don't need a conspiracy theory for it. It's what humans do to humans. Been doing it forever.
But wouldn't you say, because I don't know. Again, I'm 55 years old. I'm the whole technology age. I grew up during it. I always felt, and again, I had a lot of gamers that hated me for this. And believe it or not, I'm in technology, but I'm not a gamer. I hate video games. I really do. But I always felt that that was a government thing. They started video games. Why? Because it dehumanizes people. It literally dehumanizes people when they sit on these things all day long, and especially the young ones. I mean, I still remember getting in fights, like with what was it, World of Warcraft. God, I'm dating myself. Right. And I knew so many married couples that ended up divorcing because of that stupid game. And I used to say, well, it's because you're living in a fantasy. You're literally doing whatever you're not supposed to be doing, because of the laws that are put in play and our ethics and our morals. And so it's a demoralized freaking hell zone, and nobody's there to catch you. And it literally changes you. And it does. It changes you. In fact, I think the show The Big Bang Theory that was like the funniest but truest thing I've ever seen, was the show where they had Wolowitz, whose girlfriend would not talk to him because he had an affair with a troll in the game he was playing, and he slept with the troll in the game, so she considered that cheating. And at the end of the show, it turned out the troll was this fat guy who lived in his mother's basement, which I thought, like, oh my God, I was like, that was perfect, that was awesome, that's on point. But I always felt like it, even online, being online, the internet, in a way, it demoralizes people. I have seen, some horrible things done by people online. And I always thought it was kind of almost intentional, because the demoralization, again, people are less, I guess you could say, concentrated on what their leaders are doing, when they're more looking after themselves and what is going to make them feel better. And it's really an amazing phenomenon when you sit back and you look at it. They don't care what's happening in D.C. They really don't care unless it's got something to do with whether or not you're transgender, or unless it's got something to do with a moral issue, or in their minds a moral issue. They don't care. I mean, look at the trillions of dollars, Brent, that has been wasted over the last couple of years. Look at the billions of dollars they wasted during the Biden. I mean, just the last month of the Biden administration. Look at the billions that went out the door, and you don't hear anything about that. Okay, that is our hard-earned money. That is what our children and our grandchildren should be using to live off of. And not a dime of it's going to come back here. And who's fighting for that, Brent? Do you hear anybody making that argument to anybody? You know, what about the American people? What about our families? What about our longevity? You don't hear that.
No, you don't. And I think by and large, it's likely a natural byproduct of affluence. So if you stop and think about it for a minute, we are living right now in 2025 United States of America. We are living in the most comfortable, affluent period and place in all of human history, right here, right now. If you want to know what humans do when they're incredibly comfortable, well, look right here, because there is no better case study in all of history than right here, right now. We're in it. And when you are this comfortable, when your life is this posh, as the British would say, it's really hard to get people terribly worked up about much of anything. And you mentioned the video game thing in this world of alternative reality that's so available to us. And you don't need a set of, goggles from Meta. All you need, you can just go on the internet, the good old plain old fashioned two-dimensional internet, and you can escape the entire world, right there. I can pick up my phone, and if I want to, I can just be on it all day with strangers or otherwise. I have all kinds of really cute Asian girls who send me messages on Telegram. It's quite wonderful. I
have a few clients I've had to help out of that. I was going to say, I've had a few clients I've had to help out of that because they had cute Asian girls.
Yeah, gosh, I'm not sure how they all know me, but they sure do think a lot of me. It's pretty nice. Anyway, there are ways for us to escape, just be distracted, have our third Twinkie. We're just awfully comfortable. As I'm fond of saying, this is not Sparta. And the American people today, this notion that somehow or other we're vigorous and tough and we're warriors and we have great pride and we're fighters and all that stuff, it's just garbage. We're like a big old fatted calf rolled up on its back with its belly exposed. So getting people to be really engaged is difficult. By the way, engagement and being mouthy are not synonyms. You're right. We got close to 330 million people who are mouthy, and they use social media to be mouthy. This is where reason goes to die. It is a wasteland for intellect and constructive dialogue, thoughtful conversation. This conversation we're having right now just doesn't happen, on X in posts between people. It's, here's my post about why I hate a bunch of people I've never met. So you go fire back at that post now, right?
But doesn't everything start with a spark? Because I can tell you, my social media, what we discuss right now, that is all my social media is it's making people think. It's asking questions, and I respect their opinions. I always say you can think differently. Just keep it respectful. You go out of line with me, you attack me, I'll eviscerate you. But I mean, a difference of opinion, that is what life is about.
Right.
Debate, the art of debate is dead in many ways, but it shouldn't be.
Well, and it ought not to be. I don't. By the way, credit to you and your followers for you encouraging that and them doing that. It is the Socratic method that we ought to all embrace, and that's not one really of debate. It is about one of inquisitiveness. I'll share this with you and your audience. This is one of my favorite things I like to point out to people. And I'm elderly, so I'm supposed to have wisdom, but everybody can take it for what it's worth. So if you look at something that we call an opinion, and then you say, well, let's define that. What's an opinion? Well, an opinion is what you think about something, right? That's what an opinion is. Now, let's thin slice what I call 3 different ways to think about something. The first one is you have a belief. A belief is something you're just able to have. You just have it. You don't have to defend it. You didn't have to do anything to get there. You just believe it. And so that's one form of an opinion. The second form of an opinion is a conclusion. And that is one where through some amount of work, whether it was for 5 years of research or 5 minutes of flipping through something, whatever it was, you went through some process to get there. You arrive at conclusions. The third kind of opinion to have about why you think something is to have a hypothesis. And a hypothesis is identical in every way to a conclusion, except now you're willing to test it. Yep. And my wish for people in their own lives, and it's not a political wish, it's a personal wish. Go through your life forming hypotheses. Do some work. Draw a conclusion about what you think, and then be willing to test it. Be willing to test it all the time. I believe that leads to living the best life.
All right. With that, guys, I got to wrap the show for the year. In fact, Brent, tell everybody where they can find you. I'm not going to go with the rest of the panel, unfortunately, guys. I'm out of time. But Brent, please give everybody a link where they can find you, where they can find your books.
Well, you can find the books on Amazon. All proceeds go to my foundation. I'm involved with Bridge Charities, which supports the Common Ground Campus program, which is the most important thing in my world that my dear friend and partner, Felissa Blazek, started years ago. And we try to go out and reach young people and teach them how to think critically, engage constructively, and solve problems instead of arguing about differences. And you can see that at commongroundcampus.com or go to bridgecharity.com and see our work. Or if you really want to find me, you can find me at LA Fitness in Northbrook tomorrow morning around 10. I'll be there.
All right, guys. With that, I am closing the show. I've already run a little bit over. I guarantee Mark is in a sweat right now. Have a great Christmas, a happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever you're celebrating. Love your family, embrace them, embrace your friends. For those who do not have family or friends, go to your neighbor, say hello, just spread the goodwill. It is that time of the year. Please take advantage of it. Have a safe and happy holiday, everybody. We'll see you after the new year. Have a great evening and join us. I think it's January 3rd is our next day back, somewhere around there. Same bat time, same bat channel for the Vixen's Vault.
Primary objective successful. Shutdown sequence initiated. Shutting down.